Okay, the next item on our agenda is, what are we requiring?
I thought we were gonna let Neil.
Oh, I'm sorry, handbook, we'll bring the handbook up. I'm sorry.
We have one more report. Neil DeGetti and John Passarella will report out on the handbook. But you'll be voting on this later under old business. This is the third read for the board, so we're looking to pass it tonight. So John and Neil will summarize the work of the committee. I believe there are a few questions submitted by Mr. Walsh. Hopefully they'll be able to answer those, and then we can carry on with the agenda.
I'd like to take a moment to thank Superintendent Skinkis and Principal Bilesma on the board for allowing us an opportunity to present this. This document is a critical document for the board, obviously the school district and our students, so I appreciate the board taking the time to go through this. Mr. DeGetti has been in the position of Assistant Dean for 4 years now, and through that time he's taken on numerous responsibilities of the daily functions of the office, and having served on the handbook committee, it was a natural transition to have him lead that committee this year. Though I served on it, Neil was basically in charge of that committee. It was an administrative team, but once again, Neil headed that committee.
So I just want to thank the administrative team, Pam Bilesma, Kevin Skinkis, John Pastorella, Christy Superintendent, Dave Sidley, and the Board of Education for allowing me to be part of the office for the past 4 years, work with the day-to-day operations, and working with John these last 4 years is I've learned a lot of the insights and how the office works, and I've really learned why he's retiring in the next 2 years. So if you want me to help expedite that process, I can. Just let me know. I'll do what you guys need. The handbook committee basically starts with the staff. At the beginning of the year, we ask if you have any questions that can help with the students in the handbook, please get them to us as quickly as you can. Email them throughout the year. Just give us a Post-it note, any sort of information that could help. And that's a process that starts in August all the way through. And then once we start getting past Christmas break, we come back through starting second semester, we once again go out there and we reach out to staff, and we start saying, hey, once again, if you have any ideas about what you wanted to have changed, because we're getting the handbook committee going, please send them our way. We also make sure that we start to solicit parents and students and staff and administration, because we're starting to form our handbook committee. This year we had our administrative team, and John and Chrissy and Dave and Lori Sullivan part of it. We had some parents, Mike Welch, our board member, and we also had 2 students who are here as well, Savannah Alvarez and Tom Loftos. Very nice 2 individuals. I coach Savannah in golf, and so I basically said, Savannah, you have to be part of our and she's a sophomore, and I said, you need to find another person that is just as smart as you, and she said, I got the greatest person. And so what's nice about this is they're going to be part of our handbook committee for the next 2 years, because they're sophomores. So it's going to be a seamless transition. They're going to realize how the process works, and part of their whole being part of our RB community is they now have to recruit 2 new students before they leave to come and be part of our handbook committee. That way it's a completely seamless transition, and that students are now more part of what happens here at RB with our handbook committee. So they did a terrific job, and I want to thank them personally for being here, and they're a great part of RB, what RB should be. So what we do is once we get going, we also did a new process this year. Through the past few years, we've had, since John was leading it, we had a lot of notes here, Post-it notes in the handbooks. Things were kind of a little bit all over the place, which is fine. So we tried to streamline everything. We went through more of a Google document system this year, where we took all the information, we made sure it was paged, colored, noted, if we were going to remove, add, change, and that way everybody had it at their homes. We had our meetings, as we typically do, but if all of a sudden you're at home and you're looking at the information, you're looking at the handbook, you can just add it right then and there, and it's a living document. We can look at it immediately. That way we're kind of caught up to speed, and we're not 2 weeks later saying, oh yeah, that's right. Remember when we were talking about this? We have it right then and there. And we would send out the email, hey, make sure you take a look. And even with Silvana and Tom, we would have their parents take a look at the process in which we were doing in the handbook. So it was nice for them, if their parents couldn't make it, they can look at the information that we were also doing. So that was a nice little transition as well. We had some small changes this year with the handbook. Basically, it was like a lot of grammar, some conventions, editing job titles. So no longer like department chair, it's now instructional coach. So we had to go through a handbook, and anywhere we saw a department chair, we had to switch over to instructional coach. Calendar dates, scheduled times, some suggestions from Tim Walsh through great insights. You gave us a lot of ideas, ways of looking at it for being a community member and a board member as well, so we can look at it and change some phrasing around. Mike Welch, as always, he gives us great insight as well as a board member and as a community member. We're able to look at those insights and changes, and then we get to sit back as our small administrative team and make those changes that you guys have suggestions to. So we appreciate that as well. We also had 3 major changes, though, to the handbook. The first one was with technology. Kind of as technology has evolved, so as kind of like the handbook and things were sort of put in this separate spots throughout the last however many years. So now we're kind of moving, obviously, to more of a one-to-one sort of system in the next year or two with students. We decided to take all that technology, all those ideas, and put it into one section of the handbook. That way, if staff or parents or we have a question, it's right there in one section. So that was one little major change we did. Our second one was the achievement awards. This was per the leadership council and our assistant principal, where our achievement awards were in the handbook. Now it's going to be removed and it's going to be put into the curriculum guide. But we're also going to refer back to that in the handbook. So if parents were used to seeing it, we're going to have a little side note in there. Achievement awards refer to the curriculum guide. And then the final one was the academic-related infractions, which is also referred to as classroom dishonesty. That was suggestions per our legal counsel. They took a look at our wording that we had, and they tightened up some of the suggestions on the staff concerning academic dishonesty, what they do. They made it a little bit more tighter. They went through it. They were very deliberate in what they want teachers to do. And then there was a couple, the lawyers also, the legal counsel also had a few things from our office to do. One was to change department chair to instructional coach, and the other one was, let me just scroll down here. Oops. Was loss of final exam exemption privilege for that subject area, and that was with criteria first offense, second offense, and third offense. The other, also we made the change was, per Tim Walsh's request, was what happens if it was a fourth time? So instead of having first, second, third, we went 3+. So that way, they will cover that area as well, if that was kind of the situation.
Mike, do you have anything you want to add?
Just want to thank the committee for their hard work. I haven't participated as much this year as I had in the first few years. I think this is could be my 4th or 5th go around.
At least.
I think they did a lot of good work in this, and I think there's kind of one remaining issue that the board is looking to hear about. And I think I took a straw poll last one. I think that one issue is what they'd like to hear about, and then we'll hopefully move for a vote later in the meeting.
So the issue was students being able to text their parents throughout the day if they're sick. That was the issue?
I believe that's true.
Or they
Here-
want to leave early. There were 2 instances, right?
Right,
They
okay.
were sick or they wanted to leave early.
Yes, here's the issue, and actually, we just had it come up the other day. So let's say student A, for instance, they go into the bathroom. They text their mom or their dad or whomever, and they say, I'm sick, I want to go home. Parent calls up, says, this student needs to go home, they're sick in the bathroom. A, we don't know where they're at, because they're in a bathroom. We have a lot of bathrooms. B, we don't know what's the matter with them. Are they diabetic? What's going on? Are they sick? Are they throwing up? Did they pass out? We have no idea. So what we're trying to say is, obviously, you need to go hold of your parent. But what we want you to do is go to the nurse, contact your parent, come to our office, contact your parent. So we now know where you're at. We are in charge of you when your parents are not there. So we just want to make sure more of a safety issue so that nothing happens to you. That is the main reason.
I understand why you want to do it. I have a couple, and I don't know if you've talked to our outside counsel about them. We're going to rely on their advice, but
Okay.
That's a good reason to do it. But students have First Amendment rights, as do their parents. And I asked the question, if a student was at lunchtime and wanted to text or do the same thing anybody else in the world, and they could. So it seems contrary to me that the only two things they're not allowed to do with their phones is text their parents on two situations. And the concern is, then we're gonna start disciplining students for it, and I don't see how we could support that kind of discipline. So, I'm not suggesting you don't have to control them and they shouldn't go it. I mean, you should tell parents, well, if you know where they are, tell us they have to go to the nurse, and if you come here, you can't see them until they go to the nurse and they call or something. There's a way to manage that without putting a restriction on a student's right to contact their parents.
I read this differently, Tim, and I could be completely wrong. I'm not a constitutional lawyer. I did take a course in, I think,
I'm not either.
1978. and I think that that has more to do so I'm not sure it really applies because of the substance as opposed to controlling the method of speech here. And I don't think we're preventing them necessarily from texting their parents. They can always text.
We're just trying to keep
It's just a question of a process to control the method by which they leave. So I understand your issue with it, Tim, and it doesn't make a lot of sense if we're saying you can't text your parents, but I don't hear us saying that's the case.
No, that's not the case. We're just we just want to manage where they're at. Like, for instance, we had it happen the other day, and we didn't know where a student was at. And that's all we're saying is, if you're sick, let us know.
Hold on a
Hold their
second.
parents.
The sentence that I asked about says the students cannot text, which by the way, it should say may not, parents during the day to go home sick. That's what the question I asked about.
Sure.
And he asked, I think Ed asked that question and you answered it differently. There's two different places where it says that.
And I think that's the semantics of it.
Okay.
As I understand it, a kid can text his parent to tell the parent he's sick and that they want to go home. But as far as the school's concerned, that is not enough to get a proper release to go home.
We need to know where they're at.
I'm agreeing with that.
We need to know where they're at.
And we're not disciplining students, we're educating them, as well as the parents. Letting them know that you need to let us know you're sick, and the same thing with the parent. The problem is, it's a technological society where, that communication breakdown, as they look at it, is so critical, when in fact, it's easily accessible if you just use a school phone. And so we're trying to educate them on that. It literally happened this morning.
Maybe we could take one more look at
I
it,
think
tweak.
that's wages you're-
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
look at
that's,
that.
We don't
that's
need-
what
I
the
hear what you're
problem
saying.
is.
Yeah.
It's a violation of the rules, which means they could be disciplined for it, and I
So-
have a
so
struggle
what
that we could
What we're
do
gonna
that.
do is to kind of cut, to make sure there is no issue,
Yeah,
is
that's-
that what we're gonna do is next year, at the beginning of the year, when John has his talks at the beginning of the year, when he says, don't do A, B, and C, these are your consequences, he's gonna inform them, please, if this happens, you are sick, please come to the office. Please go to the nurse.
That I'm 100%
And
behind.
Yeah.
Tim Walsh, I think, doesn't like the prohibition. You may not text your parents that you're sick. Well,
Well, we're gonna make sure that any of these changes that could affect their daily operations at RB, they're gonna know that for next year. We're gonna make them aware of those things, just like we have every year, and we said, don't do A, B, and C. This year, we're gonna say, besides don't do A, B, and C, make sure you know that you cannot do this. If you are sick, please let us know. If you contact your parents, please just let us know where you're at.
We can, even though the board approves it tonight, we can modify it just to clarify it a
Yeah,
little more.
yeah.
It's not a problem.
It's not something that we need to bring back.
no.
And
Okay.
I will say, the years I've been on, you've improved it every year. I think it gets better, so I know you can tell you're putting a lot of effort into it.
I believe Neil's format this year made it much more user-friendly. I was really pleased when he was taking charge of that.
All right, any other questions to this?
And one of the things the students on the committee will find is the more that you read the same document, the more that you can't see what it says.
Right. That's what committee should know today.
And so, we're gonna approve this, and then as soon as we send it to the printer,
We're gonna find out.
we're gonna find something we're gonna need to
None of
change.
you are allowed to read it until next year.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll be voting on this later on in the meeting. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.